Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl Season 3, my review for Episode 13, otherwise known as the Season 3 finale, but also the series finale, otherwise entitled The Reckoning. Going to be going over everything. This of course includes spoilers in regards to what happens from this season's storyline, as well as how they wrap up the show. Lots to talk about, so let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions about this. Any potential things that ending could have been setting up, if there is anything there. Let me know your thoughts down there. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, you enjoyed the episode, you enjoyed the season of Stargirl and everything like that, drop a like on the video to show support. Sorry, I just knocked my little armchair thing there, but we'll continue on. And the first thing I need to say is thank you for everyone for watching my Stargirl content. If you've been watching since season 1, picked up in season 2, picked up this season, whatever it is. It's sad to see the show go. It was easily the most consistent DC show on air, in my opinion, easily, especially over a multiple season run. And it's so sad to see it end, especially with how this season, I think, set up what could have been happening in season 4, maybe even season 5, season 6, stuff like that. But I just wanted to, let's not, sit on that and, be like a bit too overly sad. Let's just be happy it happened, if you want to call it. So I want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching. But let's talk about this. So, of course, in regards to last week's episode setting up this, the main things to really set up leading into this finale, Ultra Humanite has been in Starman's body the entire time we've seen him on screen since the end of season 1 in that post-credit scene up until right now in season 3. It's Ultra Humanite. And in regards to who's in the gorilla's body, who we assumed was Ultra Humanite, it's actually Dragon King. That's whose brain is in there. So crazy. And of course, we ended off last episode with Pat being buried, and that was it. We're like, okay, well, is Pat dead? Hopefully not. But this episode, look, as a series finale, it wasn't perfect because it wasn't intended to be a series finale in all of its stages and setup. So it was never going to be a 10 out of 10 in regards to a series finale. But in regards to a season 3 finale, wrapping up this season and everything like that, it nailed it in my opinion. And it was pretty crazy, and I'll probably mention it later in the video, but you get halfway through this episode and it feels done. Like they've defeated everything and then it just carries on, but in an even better way, just to, address character stuff and everything like that. But let's just talk about it because there's a lot to talk about. But we do start the episode actually 9 months ago in the past, and this is at the grave of Sylvester Pemberton. And it's important to remember that last season, season 2, that whole storyline was only within like a handful of weeks period. So that was like not too long after season 1, and then that was only over a couple of weeks period. And then from the gap between season 2 and season 3 was that summer holiday. They finished off the summer holiday after summer school, I guess, and went on a family vacation. So the whole 3 seasons of Stargirl is within like a year. It's pretty, within a year. It's pretty crazy. So what we're seeing here was at the end of season 1 with Icicle and Dragon King grave robbing Sylvester's body. Now this is after the season 1 finale where like Icicle was hit by the car and Dragon King was stabbed, but obviously Dragon King can sort of like heal himself, so he was never really dead. And obviously I think his body disappeared, I think, from memory. Like when they turned, his body was gone at the end of season 1 finale, so he just got up and left. But yeah, they do take Sylvester's body and bring him back to life. That's actually Sylvester there. He's all thinking and everything like that, with Icicle wanting to use Sylvester as a tool to push his own ideas. And it was harsh seeing that happen to Sylvester with pretty much his head being cut open while he's still alive, or, awake and everything like that. Pretty harsh to see. Now, we do pick back up with the JSA at Courtney's house where they are going over the weird things and just bad ideas that Sylvester had given, figuring out that it was just to mess with them and their camaraderie and their confidence and everything like that. But the whereabouts of Pat does become an issue for them. It's like, well, hold on, what's going on? It's a bit crazy outside. Where the hell is Pat? He would have let us know what was happening. He wouldn't be gone like this. Now, Cameron in this episode was... I wasn't too sure exactly what direction they were going to go with him because he's lied to by his father and then convinced by his father to lure Courtney in, as well as the other JSA members, into this scrapyard, junkyard area. I think it was Zeke's place, where Courtney is told that Pat was killed by the Ultra Humanite. However, before that lie can go any further, and I thought it was going to go, I thought Courtney was going to go a good amount of this episode, thinking that Pat was dead, but Pat does arrive back in Stripe and pretty much just straight away exposes who Sylvester really is to everyone. With that, that ruins, I guess Sylvester is, or that's actually Ultra Humanite. So that just ruins his plan completely. So he's not happy at all, but specifically not happy with Pat. It's like, how are you not dead? How are you not dead? Now, we do get a couple of different fights, but the first one we'll talk about is Cindy versus the Dragon King gorilla version. I don't know what you call it. Dragon King is a gorilla. That's what we'll say. But we get Jakeem's not so specific, but to him, true wish. And we get that really cool visual effect where it sort of looks like something from the comics. But I did find it funny how he's Dragon King was turned into a gorilla plush doll, and he'd still be still thinking, I guess, still be within there. And even towards the end of the episode, I think we have like the dog ripping the arm off of the plush gorilla. So if there's one character that probably deserves to finish like that, it's probably Dragon King. I mean, especially with what he did to Cindy. Now, the Starman versus Stripe fight was probably the highlight of the episode, just that whole thing and just the back and forth between Pat and fake Sylvester or Ultra Humanite I thought was great and everything like that. But also just the JSA versus like the Ultra Humanites crew and that whole junkyard, scrapyard scene, and which went for a bit, I thought was really, really well done. All the stunts there were really, really cool, and the visual effects as well. Now, one thing where I couldn't help but laugh, but we had Grandpa McKent wanting to stop the fighting, just like Beth did. So they're going to be like, how are we going to deal with this? But Grandma McKent was like, no, I don't want to stop fighting. Screw these kids. I'm going to kill them. It's like, F those kids or whatever. I don't know who said it. But I don't know who said that. F them kids, whatever it is. But Grandma McKent ends up killing herself by knocking a car down and crushing her. She looked like the Wicked Witch of the East, I think it is, with her little legs sticking out from Wizard of Oz. So I thought, once again, a character that just really you thought that maybe they were going to turn a corner and be like, okay, yeah, for Cameron's sake, we won't be evil anymore. But no, just couldn't help herself. That's where Jordan McKent gets his villainous attitudes from his mother's side. Now, I did love the scene with Courtney taking full ownership of the staff to end up taking down fake Starman. Great scene, and makes it an even fight for Pat now, because Pat was in the stripe suit fighting, fake Starman with the staff, and now he's out of it. So Pat was sort of screwed if he had to fight against the staff and stuff like that. So that whole scene with Courtney taking ownership on it, I thought was really good. It was really good, and obviously she had to believe in herself that she was that true owner. So I really did like that scene for Courtney. And when I was saying like the stuff with Cameron where I wasn't too sure where he was going to go, even the bit where we had like Icicle or Jordan versing his son, Icicle Jr., as well as Stargirl, I thought, okay, well, Cameron's going good now because like Icicle, is taken down by Cameron. He sort of like turns into a frost cloud of sorts. And I was like, is he dead? But he obviously wasn't dead, but I wasn't too sure. It sort of looked like something from the Mummy movies or like Harry Potter. Like I think Voldemort turns into like a little cloud thing like that with the face in one of the movies. So I was sort of confused whether he was alive or not, which we end up finding that he is. But with Cameron, once again, like, it was a bit like twists and turns constantly with him because you weren't too sure what side he lied on. And I think it's one of those things where he would always be a constant character who was never fully good or fully bad. He'd always be somewhere in the middle, maybe just allegiance with his family, which I guess now is only his grandfather. But it's also he's just a bit confused at the same time. But with his grandfather, he does leave with him, and not on the best note with Courtney, but that is sort of like wrapped up by the end of the episode. Now, everything we've talked about up until this point, including the end of that scrapyard fight, that is all done by halfway through the episode. I think it was exactly halfway through the episode. That was all done. And I was like, what the hell are we doing for the next half? And I think what they did allowed this episode to serve as a series finale in a really solid way. So let's talk about it. Now, one thing we get is Pat actually explaining that he did use tips and tricks from his time with the real Starman, with the real Sylvester, in order to get out of that grave that was dug by Ultra Humanite. So even in his absence and thought to be death, Sylvester still saved Pat in that situation. And that's not the it in regards to like emotional things that Pat has to think about. Courtney does open up to Pat about what she said to Ultra Humanite after he yelled and screamed at Pat in, I think it was last episode. But Pat had already heard what Courtney had to say. And in that moment, it's very important to remember that Courtney properly referred to Pat as her father. So that was another touching moment without really having to recap what was said. Both of them knew what was said and how much it meant to Pat. So really nice moment between those two. Now, in regards to Rick, he is all good and well now with the Hourglass issue. Now, I thought this would have been an ongoing issue into a potential season 4, but maybe it was wrapped up here just in case that didn't happen, or maybe it was just a lingering issue they didn't want to deal with in season 4. I just thought because of all the effects he was having, that would have been something they continued on, and maybe it would have been. Maybe he thought that it was all dealt with, and then maybe in season 4, if it happened, it would have been revisited, or maybe when he used the hourglass again, maybe there was some like issues if like he tried to do something too strenuous. I'm not too sure, but I didn't think it'd be wrapped up, or at least appear to be wrapped up in this episode. I thought it would be a lingering issue, but maybe it was just wrapped up in case. I'm not too sure. Now, one thing that was a clear setup for season 4 was we had Sylvester's body in hospital with a brain dead ultra humanoid brain within there. Now, the decision is made to keep Sylvester's life on, keep Sylvester's body, I guess, or life on life support in case his brain is still out there. Of course, Ultra Humanoid said that they like, I guess, just threw his brain away into the bin, but they probably wouldn't have. Even like, I don't think Dragon King would have done that. He probably would have wanted to do some creepy little research on it. And we see that it has not been thrown away in the bin, or if it was, someone picked it up, and it is in some like chamber in a lab atop some snowy mountains. I don't know if they actually put the location where it was. It's just on top of some snowy mountains, and it's got all these wires connect to it and to a speaker where it's able to translate what the brain is thinking, and it's going over Sylvester's last moments like we saw at the beginning of the episode just before his brain was taken out. So that was clear setup for season 4. I'm not too sure who would have had the brain. I guess we might get some answers maybe. I'm not too sure. I know there's interviews coming out with Jeff Johns. I actually opened one in a new tab, but I haven't gone over it yet. That might be the video that we go over tomorrow and break everything down that he has to say that what could have happened in season 4 and explaining certain scenes. So that might be one thing that he goes over. So keep your eyes out for that video, I guess, tomorrow if I do it. But yeah, to me, that just felt like the setup for future seasons and stuff like that. Now, another nice moment which sort of fell into like a series finale-esque feeling was Pat organizing for Mike to meet up with his birth mother, which obviously Pat had been looking into a bit early into the season. But he actually does end up calling Barbara mum afterwards, like Courtney, I guess, did with Pat calling him dad. So I thought that was a nice symmetry, I guess, between the two kids, you know, adopting their step parents as their real parents, if you want to call it. So I thought that was a nice touch with Mike and Barbara. Now, another loose thread, which I completely forgot about, to be completely honest. I just completely forgot that this might even be brought up in the finale, but Courtney seeks out Becky Sharp. So when I saw her walking down the street, I was like, whose house is she going to? And then I thought that looked like Dr. Midnight's old house that we saw at the beginning of season 2. Maybe it's just similar looking. Maybe it's the same house. I don't know. But Courtney does seek out Becky Sharp, who of course is the gambler's daughter, who ends up being Hazard in the comics. Of course, a version of Hazard did appear on The Flash. And she goes there to pass on the letter that the gambler wrote for his daughter, which she does very much appreciate. Now, I don't know if we would have ever seen that character again if Stargirl continued. I'm not too sure, but I thought that was a nice thing because I think that was something that Courtney vowed to do early in the season, so she paid that off by the end of it, which I thought was nice. Now, Rick does visit the grave of Solomon Grundy to almost give some final words, with Grundy actually emerging himself. At least his like hand and fist comes out, and he is referenced later on in the episode as like being a part of the JSA. So Grundy does become a hero in the larger scheme of things, and or just in regards to the history books, which I think is really cool because he's been a helping hand over the past 2 seasons, or at least last season. This season he's just been buried, he's been sleeping. So at least for last season, thanks Grundy. Now, Courtney's visits to Cameron's house, I wasn't too sure exactly where this was going to go. I thought maybe she'd go there and just feel sad and then walk away. It does look empty. It looks like no one's in there. But Cameron does appear, and he is wondering if Courtney is able to help him, which sets up, I guess, Cameron's sort of good future. Like, I don't know if Cameron would have been like a good character completely, though it is alluded to later in the episode that he is, or I guess sides more with good than just the neutral. But I think that's probably the good place to leave Cameron. I think, especially what happens to his dad, which we'll talk over next. I think if his dad was still alive, then it would be hard to count Cameron as fully good. But I think the way that the episode went for the rest of this and everything, and I guess the foreseeable future, it was probably the best thing to just, have him be good, especially if they're going to have Cameron and Courtney be a thing. But we do actually go 3 months into the future. We do a couple of different flash forwards. So we do a small one, only 3 months. And we have Jordan McCann, aka Icicle, living a new life over there. And I think it was Copenhagen. I think that was the city he was in. Where we have him hearing this voice. And he's just like, Icicle. Or I think he said Icicle, I think. And this voice is actually Artemis. You know, Artemis, daughter of Sportsmaster and Tigress, who lures Jordan into a flammable trap of like petroleum jelly and all these different things to kill him by lighting him aflame and just vengeance for her parents. International vengeance. It's a long way to go, but Artemis, I mean, I think Artemis is someone that I could definitely see doing that. So Jordan is dead in a quite painful manner, which is probably a manner which he deserved. And it's sort of like funny because he froze Artemis's parents in a very slow, way. I don't know if it was meant to be overly painful. I'm not sure. I haven't died by being frozen like that, so I wouldn't know. But it's sort of like the opposite, which I thought was actually pretty cool. So he froze Artemis's parents to death. So why doesn't he just burn to death? I think maybe that's Artemis is thinking there, which I thought was a nice little touch there. But with the other flashback, or not flashback, flash forward we get, which I did love, and I think this is the alternate ending. I think this is the ending that they just did just in case the show wasn't picked up. So we have a 10-year flash forward, and we have the Shade showing up, and he's taking a tour group through the JSA headquarters, which is now a museum. We see all these different, artifacts, if you want to call them. We learn that Courtney is now Starwoman. So Courtney would be like, what, 25, 26 at this point? So Courtney is now Starwoman. Cindy is known as Dragon Queen. Cameron is now Icicle. Beth and Rick are now getting married. Mike is Stripe now. And we actually learned that Sylvester was brought back to life. They found his brain. I think they actually said who had his brain. There was a lot of stuff happening really quickly there. So I might have to rewatch the scene. I might discuss it again in that video tomorrow if that's the case. But yeah, I guess they got his brain back and got Sylvester back. And they also rescue the 7 Soldiers of Victory, alluding to the Nebula Man thing from the comics as well, where they're all like lost through time. But that's not it. At that point, I was like, okay, that's a nice little touch. That's really cool. A lot of different Easter eggs and just what would have happened into the future and everything like that. But no, that's not it. We have this weird rumbling going on and a breach of sorts, like a portal opens up and Jay Garrick streams in, speeds in, shows up through this breach, destroying the JSA's table in the process. And the Shade's reaction to that was pretty funny. And he says that the JSA are needed. What for? We don't know. The Shade isn't overly surprised. He seems a bit like, oh, I'm too old for this. Too old. But the JSA are needed. Now, it's important to remember this is 10 years in the future of Stargirl. So I'm not too sure if this is actually setting up any foreseeable thing or just that that's not it. It's not like there's no other issues there. But it's also, I think, opening up the fact that that Flash or the Jay Garrick on Stargirl is the same one from the Flash as well. Like, there's always been that confusion. It's been pretty much confirmed by the people on the show that that's the case now. But I think this scene confirmed it, So, alive in the future, or I guess the present day at that point, and still doing his Flash thing, which is cool. And the nice little touch at the end of the episode where it did say never the end, I thought was a really nice touch because some shows don't get to wrap up properly when it's not an intended final season. Like, Stargirl did get that rare opportunity, even though it didn't really set up for this to be a final season. It did get that opportunity for this to serve as a series finale in a way. So that was a nice touch. And whether that leads to anything is another question. I definitely wouldn't put your hopes on it, but you never know. It's never the end. Never the end. But yeah, I think I've said all I had to say about this episode. I think it was just such a good finale for season 3. And while you wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 for a series finale, just because, as I said, it didn't set up, in regards to a makeshift series finale, you probably give it a 10 out of 10 because it just nailed it in the emotions, satisfaction, closing of storylines, as well as, opening up the future as well. They nailed it. And it's so sad that the show isn't continuing because, as I said, I think it was the most consistent and consistently enjoyable and consistently well-written DC TV show across any platform that we've had, at least at the moment. People might go, oh, well, in the past, blah, 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 but whatever. At the moment, it was. So it's really upsetting to see it end, but that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. That's just how it crumbles. That's all we can say. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this season of Stargirl. Hopefully you enjoyed the ride that Stargirl's been. I can't believe 3 seasons have already gone past. Like, it started during COVID. This is like the COVID show. So the fact it's already been 3 seasons is crazy. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on the video to show your support. As I said, I might bring out a video. Actually, I probably will, going over interviews and stuff, or an interview with Jeff Johns, hopefully, where he addresses some of the stuff here. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Are you upset it's ending? Were you satisfied with the ending? Do you think there's any sort of planting of seeds there, potentially with that Jay Garrick stuff? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.